Morning world, it's 9:15 in the morning on the 18th of September 2018. Mars is square Uranus exactly in the next 24 hours. Within a few days, some of the craziness of recent times should hopefully begin to calm down, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, I want to have a look at the horoscope. I've done a few celebrities recently, all of them who have been dead for more than 20 years. And that's the criteria I'm looking at. I'm not going to be dealing with recent cases because it's too topical. I'm doing another video straight after this one around conspiracy theories. But before I do that, here's a juicy one. The horoscope of Princess Diana, Princess of Wales. Born on the 1st of July 1961 at 7:45 in the evening in Sandringham in England, 52 North 50, 0 East 30. Cancer with the moon in Aquarius and Sagittarius rising, Sagittarius on the ascendant. The notable thing about Diana's chart, there's what I call two really notable aspects. There's a big T-square between the moon in Aquarius, opposite Uranus in Leo, square Venus in Taurus. Moon opposite Uranus is very much the freedom, the independent. And from the word go, she made it clear that once she woke up and stopped being a kind of broodmare, it became clear that she was her own person and she wasn't going to conform or be what other people wanted her to be, regardless of who they were. And with the moon square Venus and Uranus square Venus, when she became independent, then her love life was her own. She did have a number of affairs once her marriage broke down. I don't think she was having affairs whilst her marriage was intact. Other people may have been, but she wouldn't have been. One thing the Moon-Uranus opposition does do, whilst it does give a degree of independence and liberty, it also has a pretty strong sense of ethics and morals, because it's important for them to keep the moral high ground. However, once she was single or once she was free, then of course with that square to Venus, she would have felt at liberty to live her own life the way she wanted to. I can't ignore the compassion in her chart though, with the grand trine between the Sun in Cancer, Neptune in Scorpio, Chiron in Pisces, and with the Mercury in Cancer, trine Neptune and Chiron as well. The compassion, the empathy, the sympathy, the charity work, it was not a front, it was for real. But Diana is as famous, not just for being the mother of a future King of England and Harry, but she is as famous for her death as much as for her life. Before I go there, it's just worthy of note that at the time of her death, the progressed sun in her horoscope was at 14 degrees of Leo. Now, when she died, Diana died at 23 minutes past midnight on the 31st of August 1997 in Paris. The initial post-mortem blamed the paparazzi for crowding the car in which she died in. Much later, years later, the final inquiry actually blamed the driver for being drunk or for taking barbiturates and alcohol together. At the moment of Diana's death, in the sky, at that moment, Jupiter in the sky was at 14 degrees of Aquarius, on the midheaven at 14 degrees of Aquarius, opposite the moon on the IC at 15 degrees of Leo, square Mars at 10 degrees of Scorpio. This T-square was directly on top of Diana's progressed sun at 14 degrees of Leo. It is a fact that she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. Having studied the astrology of her chart, and particularly of her progress chart and the chart of her demise, I think I have to conclude that it would have been death by misadventure. And because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, if she'd been wearing a seatbelt, she would have lived. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt, she died. And with Jupiter on the sky exactly opposite her progressed sun, squaring Mars at the time, the capacity for risk-taking was strong. Now, the conspiracy theories abound on Diana's death. There may be an element of truth here. She may or may not have been pregnant. But having studied, before I looked at all this, I was thinking, yes, the conspiracy potential here is sort of 40%. Having now studied the astrology properly, I think the potential here for a conspiracy is about 15%. I think it was death by misadventure. And if there's a moral here, it's always wear your seatbelt. I don't want to sound like a mothering old grandfather, but yeah, seatbelts save lives. Right, now I'm going to do a video on conspiracy theories. Catch you later, world.